I invited my ex-boyfriend to my own anniversary dinner because I wanted my husband to fight for me. Instead, my husband stood up, pulled out his own chair for the other man, said, "You can have my seat," and walked out of the restaurant without raising his voice once. That single sentence ended up costing me the marriage, the friends who used to take my side, and the version of myself I liked pretending I was. This is the night I tried to test my husband's love and the 6 months it took me to understand why he never came back the same. My name is Rachel. I was 31 that night. My husband, Marcus, was 34, the kind of man everyone called steady, which I used to hear as a compliment and secretly resented as an insult. Steady meant safe. Safe meant boring. And boring, in my mind, meant a man who would never fear losing me. I was wrong about almost all of it. Marcus and I had been married 6 years. We were having dinner that night at Grassini, a little place with candlelight and a corner table he always requested, because he remembered it was where he proposed. That was Marcus. He remembered everything. Anniversaries, allergies, the exact way I liked my coffee after a bad week. I used to joke that he loved me like a spreadsheet. Organized. Predictable. Never late. 2 weeks before our anniversary, I ran into my ex, Daniel, at a mutual friend's engagement party. Daniel had that effortless charm I used to fall for in college, expensive jacket, easy laugh, the kind of attention that makes a room feel smaller. He asked how married life was treating me. I said comfortable, and he smiled like comfortable was a consolation prize. That word followed me home. Comfortable. Not exciting. Not urgent. Comfortable. So I did something I'm not proud of. I texted Daniel and told him where we'd be for our anniversary and that he should swing by if he happened to be in the area. I told myself I just wanted to see Marcus get a little jealous, just enough to prove he still saw me as something worth defending. I didn't tell Marcus any of it. Marcus had just handed me a small box across the table, a pair of earrings I'd mentioned wanting months earlier and assumed he'd forgotten, when Daniel walked in. I stood up too fast. I hugged him a beat too long. I said something about what a small world it was, even though I'd engineered the whole thing. Marcus didn't say a word. He just watched me, and then he watched Daniel pull the empty chair out beside me like he belonged there. "Is there a problem?" I asked Marcus, already annoyed before he'd said anything. "No," Marcus said quietly. Then he stood, took his own chair, and slid it toward Daniel. "You can have my seat." He picked up his jacket, left cash on the table for his half of the bill he hadn't even eaten, and walked out. No scene. No raised voice. Just gone. And somehow that silence was louder than any argument we'd ever had. I stayed. I told myself I was giving him space to cool off. I stayed for almost an hour, laughing too hard at things that weren't funny, performing a version of fine that convinced no one, including me. When I got home, Marcus wasn't in our room. I found him in the office, printing something. Bank statements. Our lease. A list of shared accounts. "What is this?" I asked. "I'm not going to fight a stranger for a seat at my own anniversary dinner," he said, not looking up. "So I'm making sure I understand what's actually mine before I figure out what isn't anymore." I told him he was overreacting. He told me, calmly, that he'd spent 6 years being patient with a woman who mistook his patience for something to test. That sentence sat in my chest for days. He slept at his brother's that night. And the night after, my best friend Priya, when I told her the sanitized version, said Marcus was being dramatic. "A man who really wanted you would have fought for you," she said. It felt good to hear for about a day. Then my mother called. I gave her the same polished story, and she asked one question that undid me. "Did you think about what you were asking him to feel?" I hadn't. I'd only thought about what I wanted him to prove. Marcus filed for a trial separation 2 weeks later, not divorce, but distance, with conditions. Counseling if I wanted to try. I said yes before he'd even finished the sentence. In our first counseling session, the therapist asked Marcus what he needed her to understand. He said, "I don't feel safe being loved by someone who needs proof. I'm afraid of losing her. If I'm calm, I'm boring. If I'm patient, I'm weak. I don't know how to win a test I never agreed to take." I didn't defend myself that day. For the first time, I just listened. Over the following months, I stopped texting Daniel entirely, started therapy on my own, and slowly learned the difference between being loved loudly and being loved well. Marcus, for his part, didn't come home quickly, and he didn't pretend the hurt had a shortcut. He came to sessions. He answered honestly. He didn't perform forgiveness. He didn't feel yet. 5 months after that night, Marcus asked me to meet him at Grassini. I wore the earrings he'd given me, foolishly hopeful he'd chosen the same table to give us a new beginning. He hadn't reserved our corner table. He was standing near the entrance when I arrived, and a young couple was being seated in our old spot instead. I gave that table up once already, he said quietly. I'm not asking for it back tonight. I just wanted to tell you, somewhere that mattered to us, that I'm not coming home yet, but I'm not gone either. I needed you to hear that somewhere real, not over the phone. It wasn't the ending I had once wanted. It was better, in a way I hadn't earned yet, honest, unresolved, and finally, painfully real.